Holy shit, ladies and gentlemen. Ceremonial Witch back here in this bitch. And shit is so awesome lately. I fucking love life. I hope everybody out there is having a great time just like I am. This is my granddaddy episode finale. Part 1, potentially. I don't know. I got a lot of info to share with y'all. But first I want to say, anybody out there who's fearful, sad, worried, and the like, please don't be, okay? If you just started off in the New Age and spirituality and maybe conspiracy and truth movements, well, I get it, maybe. But I've been in this bitch for a while, and not a while, not even that long, actually. I'm still pretty fucking fairly new at this shit, okay? And, you know, I know right now what's going on is a little scary, but it's not the end of the world. In all honesty, it's possibly even the beginning of the world, of a new world, of a new era, of a new way of looking and seeing and thinking and doing. And what I mean by that is, it's beautiful seeing kids running around outside again. It's such a beautiful day. Is we've been saying for a while in spirituality and New Age alike that things are going to change, the event is coming, things are going to change, the event is coming, things are going to change, the event is coming for the old system to be gone, a new system, it has to be broken first, things got to get worse before it gets better, so on and so forth. So now that that's happening, for people to be all worrisome and freaking out because, you know, I get it in one sense, but in the same sense, it's like, well, this is what you've been waiting for. This is what we've been asking for, at least us. And I have alluded to this many times, and maybe if you guys still haven't got it, or for those out there who maybe didn't hear it or weren't paying complete attention, what happens to the collective consciousness happens to us. If we start altering the collective consciousness by the majority of people thinking in a specific way, well, we're going to alter the entire collective consciousness. Now, you can give me all the reasons that this shit's happening and write them off to me as fast as you want, and I'll say, yeah, you're right. All that is happening, and that's the reason it's happening. But everything starts in the mind, and in our minds of us who are trying to use our mind power, we are more powerful. You know, at the very least, one of us is worth two of them, and them is other people who aren't using their mind. Is what I mean by that. So, and you know, even if we're 50-50 right now, we would overpower them. And if we're not 50-50, if we're 25 to 75, well, that's still even. Well, not really. That means we're 50 and they're still 75. But anyways, the point is, the point I'm trying to get at is simply that things are changing because we want them to change, because we were asked for change, and now we're receiving that change. So don't forget about the change. Everything's going to be okay.
Quantum health.
Fucking dead air. Sorry, everybody. It's Dolores Cannon.
So I found a way to contact people come off of the audience. I always say, oh, it's just them. You know, my felt it, but when I walked into this room, boy, I was hit by a lot of energy. I don't know if you're feeling it or not. I don't need it. The speaker doesn't need it, you know. But that's what my daughter was saying. Look at all the energy we've been generating here this whole weekend. And so I guess it's accumulating. When I walked in, I could feel it through my arms and everything. But I don't need it, so I need to get it out of here. So, off of me anyway, it can affect you guys. Okay, when I'm doing my sessions, I have an office over in Huntsville, and there's an awful lot of energy that accumulates in that office. You won't believe it. And there are all kinds of strange things happen in there because of the energy. And I always say, oh, it's just them. You know, my little gremlins that like to play. So it's what it is here. It's an accumulation of energy, but it's a positive energy anyway. But sometimes when I'm speaking somewhere, I can feel it rolling off of the audience. Okay, well, I hope you're enjoying the conference. Okay. Okay. We have a lot of good speakers and a lot of good authors. Okay. Now I'm going to so I'm trying to figure out how to start on all of this. Most of you know about my work and what I do, but I do want to give a little bit of explanation on this part that I keep referring to they, so most of those who don't know will understand what I'm talking about. But I've been doing the hypnosis for 40 years, and I've been doing the past life sessions and regressions for 30 years. So I do the therapy and the counseling. People come to the world, that little town in Huntsville, to have a session. So it just keeps growing and growing. But during that 30 years, I developed my own technique that is not like any other hypnosis technique out there. And that's what I'm teaching now all over the world because it is very dynamic and powerful. But what I learned when I was putting this together and it evolved, I found out how to contact this part that is so powerful. And that's the one that I get the information from. Now, most hypnotists do past life regressions. That's all they do. Is just go through a past life, and that's it. And a lot of times the client, when they leave, they'll say, well, it was interesting. Ancient Greece, ancient Egypt, but what does it have to do with my life now? A lot of hypnotists don't know how to tie it together and how to take it further. So when I do my work, the past life regression is the tip of the iceberg. That's just the very beginning because there's so much more you can find out. So I found a way to contact what I call the subconscious. But it's not the subconscious the way the psychiatrists define it. And I've had arguments with psychiatrists that have taken my class about this because they don't agree with me. But the subconscious, the way the psychiatrists defined it, that to me is a childish part of the mind. And you can use it for habits, stop smoking, lose weight, but it does not have the knowledge of this part that I found. The part I work with that I call the subconscious, you may want to define it as the oversoul, the higher self, the higher consciousness. But it is so big and so huge that it has the answers to everything. Why not work with that part? Because it is so powerful. I call it the subconscious. They said they don't care. They said, we'll work with you no matter what you call us. But I call it that part. Some of my students said they've begun calling it the higher self, which doesn't make any difference. It works. But that's the one that I call in when I'm doing the instantaneous healings. And also it solves the person's problems. But the interesting thing that has happened with this, and I call it them because they refer to themselves as a group, but it is a very powerful group. But it's amazing that it is so huge, but it cares very much about each individual person. And that's why when I do the session, it has so much love for the person I'm working with. It's beyond description. But it's hard to explain because it's beyond our way of defining things. So,
More fucking problems. Like, come on, man.
it's beyond description. But it's hard to explain because it's beyond our way of defining things. So When I'm contacting this part, one time I asked them, well, who are you? Because they referred to themselves as a group, and they said, we are the collective. And I said, that sounds like the Borg on Star Trek. But it is such a powerful group that the amazing thing about it is it comes through everybody I work with. All over the world, it doesn't make any difference. It's always the same. It's always the same definitions. It always uses the same terminology, the way it speaks. It's always the same, I want to say entity. It's too bigger than that. But people have taken my class and said if they've had it happen, they'll say, yeah, I contacted the subconscious, and I have to say with a capital S, because it is so powerful when it comes through. But how can you explain it? It comes through everybody I work with, and nobody knows what I'm looking for. They come to me with problems, and I'm helping them with that. But it's always the same voice, the same definitions, the same terminology. Doesn't make any difference where I speak to them anywhere in the world. And as part of this is how I get my information that I write about. A lot of times it is the entire session. They will turn into the part I need. But a lot of times toward the end of the session, and I can be in England having a session. Toward the end of the session, this voice will come through. They never interrupt the therapy, but toward the end, it'll come through and say, Dolores, this is the next piece of information you need for your next book. And they'll start giving me a theory that I haven't even heard of before. And I'll say, okay. And then a couple of weeks later, I'll be back in the States doing somebody else. Before. And I'll say, okay. And then a couple of weeks later, I'll be back in the States doing somebody else. It'll happen again. And they give me more information about the theory they've just given me. So it's like a continuing thing. And some of these people will go home and they'll email me or call me and they'll say, what was that voice at the end of the tape? Because it definitely wasn't them. So I call them they because they have become so powerful in my life. And it's not channeling because this is something much bigger than that. Because it's not coming through one person, it's coming through many, many people. So that's what my books, especially the new ones now, the Convoluted Universe series, are coming from the fact that accumulation of the material that they keep giving me. And every time I think I've got it all, there's nothing more they can possibly tell me, something new comes out through somebody else, and I'm off on another theory. That's how the Convoluted Universe material came about, because when I was doing the custodians, that was my 20 years of working with the UFOs and the abduction cases. And the voices began to come through then, but those were the ETs were giving me information about their planets, about how their ships operated, and why they were coming. This is one of the reasons that I did want to print Don's books, because he was validating all the things that I've written about that I found this way. And to me, that shows there's something to it if it's coming from other directions, the same material. Because they gave me the same story of the seeding of the planet Earth, how life began, how they've been taking care of us since the beginning of time. But it began to go in different directions, away from UFOs and abductions, and began to get into complicated metaphysics. That's when I started writing the Convoluted Universe series. But what I'm getting now, I could never have understood 30 years ago.
don't get this. What the fuck, man? What's wrong with you?
And to get into complicated metaphysics. That's when I started writing the Convoluted Universe series. But what I'm getting now, I could never have understood 30 years ago when I started out. I've been evolving and growing the whole time. I've written 15 books now, and some people say they want to read the books in the order I wrote them so they can see how I evolved and how I changed as I went along. Because I began in the very beginning, 30 years ago, with just reincarnation. I thought I had all the answers, I figured I knew it all. I knew how reincarnation works. I was thinking of it in the linear fashion, and I thought I had it all figured out. But then they began coming up with these other theories, and I was saying, wait a minute. The first one was the imprinting theory. I'm not going to go into a lot of this because I've talked for days on these things, and you can see why. But everybody came up with a theory that I'd never heard of, and it disrupted my belief system. Like, wait a minute, guys, I've got this all figured out. Now you're throwing something else in here that doesn't go according with what I believe and what I thought I've learned. And it really bothered me. But then I got to thinking, if I wasn't open to new ideas and asking questions and learning something else, then I was no better than the church.
Oh, God bless
that
her.
Said, believe this, don't ask for anything else, don't try to question. So I began looking at these new ideas they were presenting to me and trying to figure them out. And it began to make sense. So after that, then I get another little piece. They never overwhelm you. Even my clients, they won't overwhelm you. It's like all these years they've been giving me little spoonfuls of information. Here's another piece. Digest this, then we'll give you a little piece more. And I think that's a wise thing to do. Otherwise, I would have been overwhelmed. I would have thrown it all away, and I'd say, no, I don't understand it. I'm not going to work with it. And that's what would have happened. I had a client who came to me. Everyone who comes to see me, their main question is they want to know what's their purpose. They want to know what they're here for, what they're supposed to be doing with their life. That's the main question. The subconscious, them, you know who I'm talking about, they said they can tell you if it's appropriate. Because suppose somebody knew their purpose before it was time. You weren't ready to hear it. If you were told too soon, well, then the person would say, oh, that's the last thing I'd ever want to do. I'm not going to do that. And you'd put blocks in your way, and you would sabotage it. So they know. So I had this man, one of the questions he wanted to know was what was his purpose? Why was he here? They said, we can't tell you. It's not time. But they said, oh, we wish we could because you don't know what we see. But they said, consider he is where you were 20 years ago. You don't give a baby a 3-course meal. You start a baby out on milk, cereal, crushed vegetables. You don't give them a steak.
Good correspondence.
So that's the same idea. You have to evolve at the stage your mind is. And so after that, I began to understand I could not have handled the steak that I'm getting now 30 years ago. I would have blown my mind. I would have just said, nope, it's too complicated. I don't want anything to do with it. So over the years, they have been giving me more and more complicated information. And as soon as I understand it, digest it, then they come up with another one. And it's been that way now, especially as I go through the Convoluted Universe series.
All right, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? You know who this is. So, anyways, if anybody checks out any of my accounts on YouTube or whatever, been having some issues, Wi-Fi. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's just the fact that everybody's at home using, servers and shit like that. It's probably really all it is. But anyway, so I've been always having issues with my laptop, and truth be told, the laptop's a little older, and I did some things to make it better and all that. But it just is what it is. So, anyway, so I've been trying to figure out a way to start this episode and, how to lead into my information, what to bring up first, because, I just start talking about our magnetic fields and just dropping science and all that shit, I'm going to keep going off topic, on topic and all that, and I need my books with me to stay on topic, point to point, and then how am I going to bring in, so this is the very beginning step of it all. Initially, I had a bunch recorded, and I had it all structured a certain way. I lost those recordings, but I still know the structure, give or take. But then, as things progress, days progress, I still wanted to keep, adding certain elements to it, but I can't make it too complicated. I can always make new episodes. Anyways, why am I telling you all this? Well, I'm just trying to simply go through my process of what I've been doing and why I've been doing it, and what's taken so long. Yesterday I didn't release the episode for, one, my computer wasn't working when I was going to do it, so I was going to wait till late at night, because that seems to be when my computer allows me to release it and do it. So anyways, I ended up remembering that it was a full moon, and I had to do a ritual and some other things associated with the ritual, doing the ritual, figuring shit out. Anyways, all that just to fucking say that I needed to God, I'm having a hard time talking today. Not feeling the greatest today. Not coronavirus or anything like that. Just, said it many times, I'm sensitive to energy and stuff like that. When energy's a little fucked up, I get a little fucked up. Anyways, I was going to go buy a fucking poutine. Anybody that doesn't know, it's fries, gravy, and curds, or cheese mainly. But decided against it because I don't think it's going to help me all that much. But nonetheless, I'm on my way back home. Anyways, so, sensitive to energy, and you can kind of feel, I don't know, it's very hard to explain how I feel right now, but I don't feel top-notch, top dollar, the greatest I've ever been in my entire life. And, at certain times of the days it gets worse, and every time the sun starts to set, we get a certain amount of protection from the sun. Understand that. And when the sun starts to set, people's moods tend to start to set. A lot of people that do dope that I may have a connection to still tend to start getting high or getting down, or plotting to do bad things. I think I sense that. I think I sense the regular persons, people around me. Anyways, I get these feelings, but that's not what I want to talk about today. Anyway, so I'm in the process of restructuring or redoing and I'm just gonna fucking probably piggyback on all the things I touched on already in my previous recordings that I don't have anymore, and I'm just gonna go and then just see where we go. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now, some of the information I played on that episode was mainly just clips from High Percentage Magic. Jack Chappell, I think he's from Canada, and he was the one talking about stock market crash, talking about coronavirus, how when Ebola was out and H1N1, how it was a big deal, and it turns out that those are both not a big deal anymore, and how that's what this is. Now, that was released pretty early on, but nonetheless, I still think it's relevant today. And then I had Infinite Waters on there with his 5G to try to make that transition. I also played, like I said, Vlad and John Seeley, basketball player, talking about 5G, Carrie Hilson, coronavirus, your speech, your freedom. And then at the end of that, I had Mr. Manny P. Hall. And Manny P. Hall's information is absolutely top-notch, and it refers to that. And so after I listened to Manny P. Hall, this is not after that episode, first time I listened to that, I looked into everything he was saying. So all the words he said, ketone vibration that's around our body, that perspiration, everybody he mentioned that talked about this, Paracelsus, I got all those information. I started reading on it. Now, I didn't even need to go that far, to be completely honest, because I know, just as most people can know and figure out, I said this in a video on YouTube, that the word heart and the word earth are the same fucking word, okay? The H is at the end when it comes to earth, And when it comes to heart, the H is at the beginning. Therefore, heart is earth, earth is heart. So we kind of have that going on. We know that's a thing, right? We know that's something. Anyways, point is, when it comes to the earth, there's a Schumann resonance that comes off the earth. There's like a little hum, okay? There's also a magnetic wave that is created. Now you can say, well, that's from the earth spinning, that's gravity, that's this, that's that. Yes and no, okay? There's some truth to some shit like that, but not completely. In a previous video a long time ago, I said that this earth is like, let's say it's part of, let's say she's a goddess, okay? And we make her up, like as above, so below. Now this is on many different levels, right? You can look at this as in like your fingernail is made up from cells that make up your fingernail. And then your fingernail is part of the hand, right? You also have knuckles. You're going to have different cartilage. You got skin, you got bone there, right? But that makes up your hand. Well, that hand makes up part of your arm. Your arm then makes up part of, your upper body, and then so on and so forth. And eventually you get to the body. Well, then you are one human and you make up your part of your family, and then your family makes up part of your more extended family, part of your community, and then you end up being part of a country, or first your Ontario, your province or your state, and then and then you can take that to gender, to race. Point is though, we are all part of something, as above so below. But you can take one member out of the group and you can break that guy down, and all of us have our heart pumping, and it's creating a magnetic waves, basically, and that creates this magnetic field around our body, okay? And within that magnetic field, now I think after so many years, and maybe even when Manny P. Hall did what he did, maybe they already had it semi-figured out then, but I think what's happening is they finally got it figured out to the point where, everybody is, occult knowledge has been suppressed for a long time, and people have been trying to say stuff in different ways and whatever the case is. And I've looked at many different types of occult knowledge, many different types of spiritualities, and tried to find what works for me. And as much as I love the studies of gods and the planets and heavenly bodies, basically when it comes to changing your life and reality, it comes down to what's the best way to impress on your subconscious to get shit done. And for me, I like using the planets for all that. I like using the moon for different parts of the month. But really, it comes down to reject, banish, deny, and accept the things you don't want, and then the things you do want. And then from there, after that process is done, because that alone can change that, then it comes down to what have you seen the most in your lifetime? What have you done the most through repetition, through various things? And from there, that's what's in you, and what out of that is going to serve you. And from there, you got to take the things out that you no longer think is going to serve you, but you keep in the stuff that you do well at. So it doesn't have to be more complicated than that. But then there are other aspects and things to look into. But what I was trying to get at is, Manly P. Hall on that thing, if you listen to my entire one, or listen to the demonism one, or any of his other ones, he talks about this field around the body a lot. And he also talks about, how if someone is trying to psychic attack you, it's no more different than someone trying to call you and say bad things to you. You have the right to hang up the phone. Now, if you decide to listen to that person on the phone and give them your attention, and then believe what they say, and it puts you in a bad mood, well, then you can be affected, because you are basically inviting that into your magnetic vibration. It's because there are things you can send. Reiki healing, why does it work? Well, because you have to accept the healer is working. And I believe that wholeheartedly that does have an effect. Now, that person is actually affecting me through, and they get through my magnetic fucking field, right? But coronavirus is not going to get through my magnetic field. No disease is going to get through my magnetic field, okay? None of that is going to happen. Now, wear and tear happens to the human body regardless. But someone like Manny P. Hall, when he tells you that you have this magnetic field and there's germs inside of you already, and if you think the germs outside of you are the one giving you the disease, well, really it's the ones inside of you. So if you treat your body right, then things will go right. Well, the guy lived until 92, and he was born in 1901. That means he lived 91 years on this planet, which is better than most, especially in his time. He went through the Great Depression and all that, and there's a lot of people that went through the Great Depression that, there's a lot of people around that time that didn't make it that long. Therefore, he knows what he's talking about to a certain extent. Now, I do, as much as I know that the body keeps rehabilitating and regenerating new cells and all that, at a certain age, when you're regenerating new cells, whether it's because, anyways, the point is, at a certain age, your body is no longer good at regenerating those cells. So unless you did absolutely everything perfectly your whole entire life, and, there's not things done to you that you don't know about that could affect you or whatever. But once again, you have to invite bad things in. That being said, if you're eating food that, has bad things, who knows? But anyways, point I'm trying to get at is no one can live forever, even when you have this knowledge. But you can live a lot longer than most. And you can live without disease. You can die in your sleep at a nice old age where, everybody else is gone and there's really no point to be living anymore. So it's not one of those things where it's like, well, I want to live forever. It's like, well, not if everybody else is dead. So the point I'm trying to get at is his knowledge is sound in there. And this alone should show you and tell you what I was trying to say is that we have this magnetic vibe. We have this field around us, just like the earth has this field around it to protect it. Okay, why does the earth need that around it? Well, that's a whole other video. But why do we need ours around us? Because thoughts can affect you. And if you're emotional, if your emotions change the way your heart is producing that magnetic vibration, then you are more at risk. Now, me saying when people are in fear, breaks down their immune system, that alone, I got that from Bruce Lipton, and then I looked up the research, and everything I saw in that was sound. So I'm not taking that back or anything, but the point is, by me saying that and putting that out into the collective consciousness, this is going to be an example, but by me putting that out into the collective consciousness, if there's enough people out there that believe that, then everybody in fear vibration is going to have their immune system weaken. Just like everybody talking about 5G, that's going to weaken their immune system. So it's not necessarily a matter that what I'm saying is untrue, but what I'm saying is not necessarily going to help people. This is why I keep saying I don't want to talk about this, but then I end up talking about it because I want people to know certain aspects of it. So once again, I tried to pull back from telling people that, if they keep stressing and fearful of this shit, they're going to release, cortisol, or cortisone is the shots, cortisol is the stress hormone, and that brings the blood to your hands and feet. Okay, so it's not that this cortisol shuts down your immune system on purpose or that's its function. Its job is to send the blood, send the energy, their body's electricity to where it thinks you need it. Therefore, knowing this, that's what the doctors do when someone is getting an implant of foreign tissue in their body, because that's what happens during the surgery. It makes less blood for the affected area for them to work under as well. I think sometimes they do that regardless, is what I read in some issues, because if there's always blood in the way, well, then it's hard and the person's losing blood. If the body's automatically putting the blood to the feet and the hands, then there's no issues. So that's a big part of what people needed to know, but that was just like the first step of my information. Now, what I'm saying now about the whole magnetic field around your body, your aura and all that, Manny P. Hall, the thing I listened to, I put on there, I don't know when that was created. My God, I think it's somewhere in the 70s or 80s, but that's a guess. And, if it's in the 80s, that's like, a decade before he died, give or take, maybe even less. So it could even be earlier than that. You'd have to look up when cassette tapes were made and somewhere when they were popular like that, because that was on a cassette, like I said. But the point is that the media, the radio, wasn't promoting as much fear, only in times of war and stuff like that. But I don't know. I didn't live that time. Maybe they were. Point is, nowadays it's on a whole new level. And maybe it's on purpose, or maybe it's just to get ratings, because everybody knows, and everybody should know, that negativity sells more than positivity. And when I use those words, I'm not using them as in positive and negative electrons. I'm talking about harmful, bad news that's scary makes more sales, which means you're watching it for the ads, the commercials, and then paid people that have lots of people watching. Therefore, the scarier, the better. Just like the more a politician has people polarized and in fear, and then they become the savior or doing something about it that they agree with, then they're going to get votes. It's the same concept. Therefore, That's as important to know too, because everybody's like, well, why would they lie? Why would they lie? Well, simply put, they need to maintain their job. They're still working right now. They make good money. They've got mortgages and shit to pay too. They don't want to be on the unemployment line. And more than that, they're spewing out this fear-based media that maybe they even believe is true. Maybe they don't even know it's fake. Therefore, do they want to be one of those statistics that they're talking about? Probably not. So therefore, they do what they're fucking told. Most people do at their job. Anybody who's listening to me right now, if they have a job, I could say, what's the worst part about your job? Okay. Do you like doing it? Most of the time, no. You probably bitch about it, maybe sometimes, whatever the case is, but you do it. Why? Because you're told to. Most people do what they're told. And if they don't do what they're told, they don't maintain or keep their job unless they have a really good reason for not doing what they're told. Therefore, the media is a job at the end of the day, and people are doing what they're told. Doesn't mean it's right and doesn't mean it should happen, but they are creating fear. And to me, somebody somewhere figured out that this is how we infiltrate the body. Now, one of the reasons I started off with Dolores Cannon, because she says a few things interesting in this about the subconscious, about the oversoul part of the subconscious that you can, contact and use, and that, the person she contacts is in every body. Now, I don't want to get too far off the subject, but to me, it's like Dolores Cannon talked to a bunch of different people, a bunch of different places, and always got the same person that spoke through whoever her patient was, male, female, young, old, different nationality, doesn't matter, on different land. She always got the same information. So to me, it comes down to her being a powerful witch, magical practitioner, probably a witch. And, this is her form of fucking scrying, her divination. And she's been doing it for so long and perfected it that, because who's to say that if you pick up tarot and you're meant to get messages from somewhere? I'm not saying everybody's meant to. I think everybody can use divination. I think everybody can use it for specific means. But then there's these people that transcend that. There's people that get super important messages for humanity for whatever reason. Whether Dolores Cannon scried in a bowl or with a crystal or had a fucking dowel, she would have got these messages somehow. Whether she was using tarot, astrology, a fucking Ouija board, fucking looking into a candle, she would have got these messages. Whether she did it like Edgar Casey, where she went under, or she put the person under. The same thing happened with Edgar Casey, except he was the person going under, and that's how he contacted them. This is one of those reasons why I say this, because people have contact with whatever this is and get the same results from different means. But that's important. That plays into what's going on today. And she's got information. Edward Casey's got information. And many scientists that don't believe in spirituality have the same information that I'm telling you. That you cannot get hurt unless you invite the hurt in. Now, have you invited hurt in? Absolutely. Every time you watch something and you've allowed the fact that cancer is real and you might be one person that gets it. Every time you allowed the fact then that you can die from all these diseases and you have no control over it, you've allowed it in. And it's time to change that. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to say that everybody's protected from coronavirus. Don't let it in. But unlike cancer, unlike all these diseases that you've been learning about since you were a kid, the reason coronavirus isn't as big as a deal as the rest of these is because you haven't been told since you were a child that you might get coronavirus and die. And that's one of the reasons that it's all over the media, nonstop, 24/7, over and over and over again, because after 21 fucking days of hearing the same thing over and over again, you create a fucking program. And if you create the program where you can get this, and then let's just assume if 5G weakens you and fear weakens you and all these things. But even if those things aren't true, you get that program in you, then you are now able to get this, okay? And I know I'm preaching to the choir because the people listening to me probably already know and believe these kind of things. And even if they don't know what I'm about to say right now, these things that I'm saying right now, they still know on some level that they're not going to get sick. But once again, I got to get this shit off my chest because trying to fucking tell deaf ears this information is so unbelievable. But in all honesty, to me, that's what it looks like. It looks like they're trying to create programs because they're not really fucking talking about anything else but this. Now, does that mean that, the whole Georgia Guidestone thing I put on there, where, a guy from High Percent Magic is talking about the whole taking out 92% of the people on the planet? Well, maybe that's what this is about. Maybe it's about weeding out all the people who are easily killed. And then what do we have left? We have the strong people who maybe they're magical practitioners, or maybe they just know the difference between bullshit and not bullshit. Who knows? And, maybe we'll be hunted down, the magical ones, or maybe the rest of us will populate the earth. I can't tell you that for sure, but I do think there's something there to this, because this has been talked about for a long time. Once again, we've been talking about New Earth. We've been talking about breaking down the system. We've been talking about creating a new earth, new love and light, and all this shit for years. And I've been on board with all of that. I'm into New Age still. I still listen to New Age stuff because, and one thing it always does is put me in a good fucking mood and make me feel proud of being a witch and a ceremonial magic practitioner and somebody with special abilities. Because some days it feels like, well, with all my abilities, what the fuck good can I do? And I put on the Higher Self channel and I listen to why an empath is good, maybe why Taurus is their best sign. Man, they have those for every sign, by the way. And, why 13 signs you might be a witch. And then I fucking, every one of them I have. And, why you might 31 signs you're an earth angel. And then I feel great about myself. And then I put myself in a better vibration. I know how to do that now when I'm down. That's kind of what was happening to me today. And that's why I said, fuck the puts in. I started recording, and that's probably what I'm going to do when I go back in. But because I don't think I'm ready to release my shit yet, because I can't get it off my computer and I don't really want to restart. I'm starting to restart here, but you're probably not going to get it all at once right now. Maybe I'll just release a little bit at a time. I don't know. Maybe I got to stop, take a break for a while so that, I don't know. Maybe I have to use the tablet to do this shit. Fuck, who knows? But anyways, the point I'm trying to say is there's definitely some connections to the Georgia Guidestones, the things written on there, and what's going on today. Now, those things were written by somebody a long time ago to try to help humanity know what's up, but no one knows about it. No one's being taught about it. So that's the one thing I've always thought was funny. Like, well, if the elite groups are the presidents and all that, and, well, then why aren't they finding a way to make these Georgia Guidestones a bigger deal? Obviously, they can't promote these things because they want to be reelected. And anybody who promotes something that talks about all the people having it die, except for, a very small percentage, well, they're not going to be very popular. So I understood that aspect of it. But it's like, is that just something released for independent media to chew up on, to go by? I don't know. I think there is more to the Georgia Guidestones, and I don't think they're horse shit. But at the same sense, I don't know if this is part of that or not, but I'm going to tie some things in there and make you think. I can't tell you for sure if this is part of that, but it seems like it. But in the same sense, I am as New Age as it gets as well. I am a crystal. I'm a starseed. I'm one of these motherfuckers who did that meditation. And here's the one thing you need to know. There was 1 billion people, at least on paper, that did the meditation. That means there's at least 1 billion people that are some form of magic, New Age, or something. You know what that tells me? That tells me out of the 7 billion, there's 1 billion of us, at least. There's probably a lot more that didn't even participate in that. If we were to unite with our magical abilities, we could do a whole lot of fucking good. Is it ever going to happen? Probably not, because maybe you had some satanic people in there. Maybe you had some fairy people in there. Maybe you had some Christian fucking witches in there. Maybe you had, ceremonial magicians, but the ones that work from the cloth versus the ones that work from the fucking, what Frater Xavier works from, what I work from, the Kabbalah. So, the odds of all these people getting together, probably not. But it'd be a hell of a thing if we could all put our fucking differences aside and say, you know what? We don't agree in each other's methods, but what we do agree on is that the fact that, whether it's the Christian church, whether it's the presidents, prime ministers, there's a collective bigger than ours right now that's got the masses, okay, on their side against us. Therefore, we need to fucking, your enemy is my enemy, therefore we're allies kind of shit. Art of war shit, basically. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Something to that effect. We need to fucking just put this shit behind us and fucking do something together bigger than a meditation. And I'm not trying to organize anything. I'm just trying to state that, we're in some dire needs, and it's a perfect opportunity to restart. And I made that clear in my video, saying that, people are bitching about the way the world is today, and financial systems might be collapsing and stock market, but it's like, we've been talking about this, at least in the New Age communities and shit I watch, been talking about this happening for like almost a decade now, 2012, maybe even before then. That's how long of the videos I watch. I watch a lot of shit from before that, but those are few and far between. But at least from 2012 to now, 8 years, close to it, maybe even longer, but it's been actively talking about events and things happening. Now that the shit's happening, it's like, well, this is scary. We need to fix this. It's like, no, if you fix this, you're putting the financial system that we have back online. And I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying that means back to your 9 to 5 and a lot more restrictions from the government. Meaning you get to go back to work, but you don't get to do as much fun things as you had. And you might have more surveillance and you might have more things. Going back to the old way is not going to be the same old way. It's going to be the old way 2.0, meaning more surveillance, less going boating wherever the fuck you want, less, contact with people, smaller clubs without big fucking capacities, smaller parties, smaller gatherings, maybe even the sports centers won't even hold as many people, have to charge more for tickets. So, things aren't going to be the same if people buy into this whole coronavirus thing. And like I said, we have the opportunity to prove that programming is what is happening, because cancer has been programming us since we're a kid. So unless you discover that and you remove that, like I had and other people have, then you're very likely that you're going to be that 1 in 3 that get it, because that's something you've been hearing since you were a child. They're all depending on when you were a child. See, I'm 33 years old, and when I was in grade 3, somebody in my class died of cancer, okay? And, his parents were fearful he was going to have cancer, and he got cancer. So what are you going to do about it? But that's what happens. So since I was a young kid, I saw and knew about cancer because I went to a funeral at whatever grade you're in grade fucking 3. And I've went on record saying grade 3 was a very important year for me. 33? Anyways, but all that is to say that coronavirus hasn't been programmed in us. Ebola wasn't programmed in us. H1N1 hasn't been programmed in us. Swine flu hasn't been programmed in us. And those things came and gone, and they didn't have an effect. But look what's happening now. They are having an effect. It's crazy. And what's happened differently, I don't know. But I have these hints that there's more people in spirituality, more people in New Age, more people trying to use their mind to manifest a reality, like being conscious of manifesting a reality. So if some of these people are buying into that, well, that would amp this up, would it not? Or if the media has amped up their game, anyways, point is that we are in some hard times right now. And it would be nice if the billion people and whoever else who wasn't part of that were able to agree on a way to get rid of this shit in a way that we don't have a bunch of restrictions and shitty laws that come out of it and fucked up shit and whatever all these fucking truth and conspiracy things are trying to tell us. I'm not saying they're wrong. They're could be absolutely correct of what might happen, martial law, this, and, anyways. But I need you to understand, I want everybody to understand that your body has a system that protects you. Manny P. Hall said it, and I'm going to give you the PDFs, the different doctors that have PhDs, the doctors that are actual medical MD doctors, psychiatrists that are speaking about this, all these different people. I'm going to give you what they wrote about this. Some of them are just New Age, some of them are just independent researchers, other ones are actually people in the field that know that there is there. And I mean, it doesn't take much looking it up. If you fucking just write magnetic field of the heart, it will tell you how big your fucking magnetic field of your heart. It'll tell you that you can't see magnetic fields. You don't see the magnetic field. Put two magnets together. There's a field there that pulls those two magnets together, is there not? Yet, you can't see the fucking shit. Just like you can't see UV ray lights, but we know they're there. There's a lot of things we can't see, but that are there. You need to keep that in mind, that not everything has to be seen, touched, smelt, felt, or fucking tasted. That's not all our realm is. Now, don't take that to the extreme and start going crazy with it. I'm not saying aliens and reptilians aren't true. God knows I don't fucking know, and anything is goddamn possible, especially when it comes to thought forms and egregores. If enough people believe in that shit is ultimately real. But nonetheless, I'm not going to talk about that shit. But point is, start understanding and believing in your body. I made an episode not that long ago about if you believe in your body, if you give up trying to heal your own body and thinking that you know what's best for your physical body, and you let your body do it, because unless these fucking 120-year-old yogis wrote books about or monks or whoever lived like really long wrote the book about how and what you should do to your anatomy. There's no reason to listen to scientists and biologists and all this shit. However, they do know the most because they're studying it. But unless it's studied for a lifetime, it's not like you're getting the information from a healthy body. What I mean by that is actually your body system writing it. Unless you get your conscious mind out of the way and you fucking automatic write what your body needs to do. It'll tell you what you need to do if you listen to it, because your body knows what to do. But if you're going to allow programming in, that's going to influence your subconscious mind and tell your body, no, this is apparently the way it works. This is what you're supposed to do. Then you're fucking up your body. Don't fuck up your body. So a nice example of fucking up your body, I guess, would be, I'm a smoker. See, I'm a smoker. And parents were a smoker. And I grew up in a day and age where smoking was accepted. There were smoking sections everywhere. So it was okay to do. But at the same time, we were actively learning that smoking caused lung cancer, disease. Secondhand smoke can also cause the same thing. Blah, 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 blah. And, because I am a little polarized in that sense, because I'm a smoker, which I also saw from my dad. If you insulted smoking cigarettes or beer, drinking alcohol as a child, he would defend it, not in the sense of defending it and saying pros and cons or whatever the case is, like I probably would, but he would do a personal attack against you. Say, oh yeah, but you're so fucking perfect. And you wouldn't even be talking about him. You would just talk about how smoking is bad for you in general. And then we tell you about all the things that you do is bad for you. About like playing video games, watching TV, whatever the case is, Well, the trouble I got in at school, whatever I brought up, or my sister brought up. Hard to do for my sister because she was almost damn perfect, but point is, that's what would happen. And I still have a little bit of that, but, is that because I'm trying to defend the smoking, or is that because I watched my father do the same thing? Who knows? But my point is, that I am smoking, right? And I've taken, anyways, I'm not going to get into what I've done to myself, period. But I'm telling you right now, I know this is going to sound fucked up, but you can smoke a certain amount of cigarettes and not die from any and not be sacrificed. Now, I have the belief, and I don't want to go too far into this, but just so I don't want people to think that you can smoke cigarettes and nothing bad could happen. I'm telling you right now, you can program into your mind that you will not die of lung cancer and be super successful at it. But if you smoke one smoke after another, then it's not the smoking that's going to kill you. It's going to be either the nicotine in your blood that you have too much of. There's too many other things that can happen, not to mention carbon monoxide that's in the smoke, and the fact that you wouldn't be having enough oxygen in your body because you'd be smoking too much. Point is, you wouldn't die from the smoke, you would die from something else. So understand that if you're going to try to program yourself that you can smoke, you're going to have to think of all the aspects around that. Because, like I said, it comes back to that genie thing. You ask the genie, hey, I want a fucking boat. Well, he'll make the boat, but it'll fucking fall on you. You know what I mean? And kill you with the boat. You gotta ask for things properly. I want a boat ducked in the water, and, figure it all out. You get one wish, but that wish doesn't have to be one thing. It could be, something. People always just think, oh, one thing. I want $1 million. It's like, no. I want $1 million estate with a bunch of money in the bank to be able to cover that for the rest of my life without any health issues. I want the real version of wealth. Point is, you can program yourself to not die from smoking. Now, I don't want to necessarily do that because I don't want to smoke. I want my lungs, but I want to be able to enjoy smokes. But all I'm trying to get at is if you do it properly and you stay within balance and you don't fuck over anything else, because if you program yourself that you are not going to get lung cancer from smoking or carbon monoxide poisoning or any of the bad effects that come from smoking cigarettes, those don't affect you. You can program that in your mind. You're also going to have to do the second part, which is remain in balance. Take Edgar Cayce, for example. He never maybe programmed his mind that he could smoke. He literally asked the spirits he communed with every hypnosis thing. They told him, you could smoke this much and live until this late, which was like in his late 90s. And he still went above that. And who knows, maybe it's because you don't want to live that long. I don't know. Point is, you got to stay within balance, but you can do that. And asking these spirits, asking your body, to me, it's one and the same. And there's more than one way to ask your body. You can do muscle testing. You can do, like I said, the automatic writing. You can do tarot, whatever. You can keep getting good at it. But more important than that is you need to treat your body with respect so it respects you. Now, this I don't know how I got onto this topic, but your field around you is going to protect you no matter what. Now, if you are bringing the smoke in, then anything that's been attached to the smoke is technically what you're bringing in. So therefore, you have to program yourself against those things and then still be able to maintain your body to work optimally. So here's the thing, if you program that smoking can't kill you, well, you got to understand that whatever the smoking is doing, how many smokes you take in, and whatever, you need to do the research on this, not just program yourself, well, I program myself that I can't die from smoking, I'm good. Yes and no. You're going to be good to a certain extent. If you fucking smoke 10 smokes a day for the rest of your life, maybe you'll be good. Maybe. I think you could. I really do, because I know people that smoke 2 packs a day that live to their 80s. But then I know other people that didn't smoke and died of lung cancer. No secondhand smoke there. Sometimes it just is what it is. But what I'm trying to say is whenever you're smoking, you are not taking in certain things and you're taking in other things instead. Now, not all that is bad. For example, I've done some studies on this, and people who've died of carbon monoxide poisoning, if someone's a smoker, they have more carbon monoxide in their blood. Everybody has some in their blood already. So we can handle a certain amount. People that smoke have more in their blood, which isn't good if you're inhaling carbon monoxide. However, like big amounts, right? Because you'll die faster because your blood content can only handle so much because your liver can only process so much at the same time. But that being said, if you've been doing it for long enough, maybe you didn't have smokes that day and you don't have a lot in your blood that day, okay? Then the person who is in a jam where there's carbon monoxide coming in, the smoker can actually handle so much because their body has been used to so much. Now, if that day you're exposed to carbon monoxide and you've already smoked 2 packs, then you might not be do so good because your body's already taken in so much. But if you haven't smoked and you're taking in a bunch of carbon monoxide, well, you're going to do better than the rest because your body's used to getting so much carbon monoxide a day. Yeah, that's how the pros and cons work. See, I come on here and say, hey, people that smoke and handle more carbon monoxide than other people. That's true. But someone who smokes can die faster because if they're smoking at the same time as taking in the carbon monoxide, well, they're getting double. So understand that if you are in a jam and you haven't had a smoke yet today, well, yeah, you're going to outlive those fuckers. You might be able to break the window in time to survive and maybe even save the other people. But if you're smoking at the same time because you're panicking or whatever, well, you're taking in double the amount. Those are things you got to take in. If you just say, I'm not going to die of smoking because I'm inoculated from cancer, I will do some more. Okay, great. But then what if you die from too much carbon monoxide? What if some nicotine shit? What if it's something with your lungs? You know what I mean? Point is, you got to think about exactly what you're doing when you're programming. Now, here's the thing I want to bring up. New Age, Wicca alike, where Wicca is older than New Age. But it jumps on the bandwagon according to Birch. Now I wasn't around in this time, so I don't know. Like I said, I've been in this game for a little bit. I research what I can, but I've also known to not just take the word of researchers. See, for me, it'd be stupid to just listen to somebody who says Wicca and New Age are different. Wicca's been around since Gardner, blah, 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 blah. And then I take that on as my ideology and I run with it. And then I go against someone like Birch who says, you're a fucking moron. That's not how it went. I lived through those times. You're going by one person's word and you just took that as fucking the gospel. Are you fucking stupid? So I know better than that. I wouldn't do that. I get research from everybody, so I know a little bit about it, but I would still ask questions to somebody who was there within the time and not pretend, oh yeah, no, I already know about that. You can't teach me nothing. That's just stupid, right? And that's the difference between ignorant, know-it-alls, arrogant, and someone who has the potential to being maybe a guru someday and is actually trying to spend their 30s and 40s and 50s learning so they can be a guru when it's appropriate. Now, I'm not trying to be a guru in here. I'm just trying to teach what I already know and what comes to me when I'm doing these shows. I said it before. Things that come to me during these shows sometimes is sound knowledge that I didn't even know before I did this show. I seem to have this correspondence gift that comes to me when I'm either writing or speaking out loud. The writing was first, and then the speaking out loud came even after. But anyways, what I want to say about magic, witchcraft, and why they've been demonized, why they've been banished by church and other places, is because the programming that's attached to witchcraft and magic. When someone does the initiation process correctly into magic, witchcraft, or something equivalent. I'm not saying magic and witchcraft are their own things. They are umbrella terms that cover a wide various group. But likewise, there's some things that people might say, this is magic, this is spirituality, and it might not be, it might just be some bullshit. But point is, when you're under a good ceremonial witchcraft curriculum, or under a good school, or you're in a magical bloodline school that's been around for a while, or a witchcraft school that's been a while, bloodline witchcraft school, or even just learning from a witch who knows his shit, who knows how to subconscious mind program, and knows how to do divination, and knows both the magic aspects, the stars, and astrology, and the earth. You know what I mean? That's a good witch. I don't think it always has to be bloodlines, but anyways, well. Oh, where the fuck was I going with that? Anyways, oh yeah, the programming that comes along with ceremonial magic and witchcraft is that anything is possible. And that's dangerous. Because if we are indoctrinated at birth to whatever, anything, and let's just go with the whole, you can die of cancer, you can die of Alzheimer's, cystic fibrosis, AIDS, any fucking STD eventually could kill you, or you can go crazy. We have all these new psychological fucking bullshit fucking things, ADDs and all that, and we're programming as we go. Have you ever noticed that way back when there was none of these some of these diseases and terms we have today, and now there are so many, and now we can get information across the world and back within seconds. So it's easier to program the whole world. You don't have to leave your house to know what's going on outside of you. And that could be a programming tool. Listen to this and just listen to it to the end, okay? This is just me ranting about stuff I probably already said, but I'm going to put it together in a different way. And it's going to be very important for this corona shit. So, as the ability to talk to each other everywhere, all around the world, using YouTube videos, independent researchers, anyways, all these different things, people with a regular podcast, people with TV shows, all this, as it gets faster and more accessible, we are able to program people. From the minute the baby comes out of the mom, there's a cell phone in the fucking room playing something that could program that baby at fucking 5 minutes old, okay? That's crazy, but it's true. And not only that, there's that radiation and all that. And to me, that's probably why the kids today aren't getting this sick with 5G, because their immune systems are used to it. You can take in a little bit of poison every day and be better off. What's better, taking in a lot of poison or taking in no poison? Neither, because they'll both kill you. If you take in no poison, well, then the first time you get poisoned, you're dead. If you take in too much poison, your body can't handle it, you're dead. If you take in a little bit of poison every day, like the little bit of smoking I was alluding to earlier, then your body gets stronger against certain things, whether it's because you're outside in the cold all winter long, puffing on that smoke, or taking in carbon monoxide or tar, or getting your lungs used to a bunch of pollution, so when you come outside, this is like, wow, this actually is fresh air. Or when you're not taking any smoke and the fresh air gets worse, it's like, wow, this air is brutal, and there's no trees around to give you more fresh oxygen. Anyways, I'm off the topic, but point is, there's information everywhere, all the time, that you don't have to leave your house to know how the world is being programmed. In fact, if you don't leave your house, they can actually program you. Because if you don't leave your house and only watch the news, then your subconscious mind, not knowing the difference between real and fake, hearing the same shit day in and day out, is going to think what it hears on the news, the pictures it shows on the outside world, is actually the truth. So you get programmed. And then when you finally do go out in public and you put on the gloves and the mask and you're scared and your routine's been fucked up, you went from going to work into a safe world that you had no worries except for maybe, cancer eventually, dying of old age, maybe a car accident, but pretty safe. You go to work and then all of a sudden the world is so bad you can't even go to work. Boom. That is a big symbolism to teach your subconscious mind that something drastic has changed. And then you're staying in the house, getting affirmation after affirmation, self-hypnosis or regular hypnosis, and in trance, and in fucking doing basically ritual magic from the fucking TV in your magic circle on your fucking couch, sitting there with your regular routine coffee, drinking this shit, taking this in. Being programmed that the world is falling around you and you can't even go outside because it's so bad. And when you do go outside, you put on gloves and a fucking mask. Well, what is that? That's symbols. You're not saying shit. You're not programming your mind shit. But you used to go outside all the time without gloves and a mask. And all of a sudden you need gloves and a mask to go outside. You're only one person in a store. There's big fucking lineups and you gotta stay away from anybody and not talk to anybody because they might kill you. So basically you're doing ritual magic on fucking steroids right now. And how fast do you think that's going to program into your fucking mind? if anything I've ever said was true about how ritual magic works, well, in all honesty, I mean, the church fucking saying how bad it is and how witches are and all this, that should be proof enough that something we do is real, okay? And the fact that they don't want you to do it is because I'm telling you right now, witchcraft, magic, and maybe even New Age and Wicca, but they haven't been around long enough. And, they serve their purpose. I'll get into that after, but they haven't been around as long as magic and maybe witchcraft. So therefore, there hasn't been so much programming put in it, because there's been a lot of programming put into witchcraft and magic, as in people can do anything, and the movies certainly reinforce that. Yeah, which might not look that great on fucking warts and green face, but that bitch can fly. So therefore, that's in line with our programming. Anybody who calls themselves a witch has that programming in there, and I'd rather be on that side than the side that can die from every little fucking thing. But anyways, point I'm trying to get at is you are doing ritual magic, you are doing affirmations, you are doing law of attraction, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Every time you turn on the TV, every single day, on your fucking phone, on your newsfeed, on your Facebook, to find out how many more fucking people died, how many more people infected, how much the world is fucking falling apart. And you're not leaving your fucking house because you're scared of it. You are telling your fucking brain, your fucking mind, your subconscious that the world is bad. And now you are programmed that you can fucking die from this. Understand that. Get this tonality in my voice. I'm not saying coronavirus isn't real. It definitely is a thing. And if you have a weak immune system, you are susceptible. But the longer you keep listening to the same shit over and over again. I mean, how much times do you have to hear the death toll rising to realize that people are dying? Turn this shit off. You want to do the whole 21 days, or do you want to do 3 fucking months of it? Which you want to program yourself? Like, come on, turn this shit off. There's a danger, for sure. But this is just affirming. You can go in your basement and do 1 hour of magic, and then go watch TV for 8 hours about fucking coronavirus. Which one do you think is going to work? I don't care if you've been practicing magic for fucking 50 fucking years. If that's what you're doing and you're in fucking any emotion, or even crossing your arms for God's sake, so you're getting both sides of your brains engaged, look it up if you don't believe me. You are fucking yourself over. You are going to get yourself in trouble. Because if you believe in magic, but you also believe in the coronavirus, well then you're double at risk. Why? Because your mind creates your reality. And you're letting this shit in to your reality. Stop it. Don't put it on. You know the risks. You know what you need to do. And if something changes, somebody will tell you. But your best bet is to shut this shit off. And if you go out, if you really want masks and gloves, do it. But man, I'd say just carry the sanitizer and keep your fucking mouth closed and don't shit in a public washroom. Because you're telling your mind that everything is not okay, that nothing's changed. You're telling your mind that there is something real to fear. And the subconscious mind is powerful. It creates your environment, creates your reality. And right now they are programming us hard. Don't be fooled. And I'm not saying they're doing it on purpose, because I can't say that with certainty. It sure seems like it. If I had to bet, I would bet on it, but I don't know that. This could just truly be out of the media wanting, because bad news sells. Bad news sells. Everybody knows that. You're not going to make a goddamn thing off of good news. All right? Like I said, I listen to higher self when I want to be uplifted. But rest of the time, I'm learning about magic. Okay? But from time to time, I put on fear-based shit. Why? Because it's more interesting. It's more gripping. It gets you. Birch's show is about all the fucking, his Witterson show is about, the left-hand path's gossip. What do you think that is? It's more interesting. It's more bullshit. It's more negativity. Not that it shows bullshit. I love it. And he comes up with a lot of good things, and he rants, and he yells at people, and tells people off and shit. I love it. But I'm just saying, it sells. Negativity fucking sells. And I mean negativity as in, bad news. But if you don't want to get coronavirus or any fucking disease, you need to put your body first. Tell your body that you respect it. You understand that it knows the bodily functions processes better than the 6 o'clock fucking news. 6 o'clock news is telling your body, telling your subconscious that you can get sick from this. You can die from this. So when you go out, be careful or don't go out at all. And guess what? I know people that haven't gone out anywhere who are in quarantine because they think they were around somebody who had it, or whatever the case is. Point is, oh man, I can't even keep going. But this is ritual magic, okay? It's being done on a whole new fucking level. If there was ever a time to think that there was dark magicians running this bitch, now is the time. Because
You are getting affirmations and self-hypnosis and sitting in front of that TV being programmed, watching your program, or in front of the computer, wherever you're watching it, and then you're going out and using symbolism to tell your mind that everything is not okay and you're in fear. First time you go out and you see a kid in a store and you think they're not there and you get mad, angry, or fearful, now you have the gloves on, now you have the social distancing, and that's all getting put into your mind. And your emotion is giving it the energy it needs to imprint on your mind. And you're doing the groceries at the same time. Therefore, your conscious mind is out of the way, and everything you take in is going right into your subconscious mind. Be careful. Watch that shit. I'm telling you, you gotta pretend like everything is okay. Fake it till we make it on the other side. Has never been the better fucking way to be. And I'm not saying go up there and start fucking telling people to spit in your mouth or wiping your fucking ass or wiping your face with your ass paper after, or just fucking licking fucking handrails and shit. But what I'm saying is, don't don't allow yourself to be fooled. Don't allow yourself to be tricked. Now, Wicca, New Age is great, but it's lovey-dovey and it's harm-free and it's or harm none rather. Let me say it the right way. But the point is, it's a watered-down version, and I'm thankful for both because New Age brought me in. Wicca got me the witchcraft I needed to learn, and then it wasn't enough. They didn't quench my spiritual thirst, and I need to go somewhere deeper. But I told everybody I was afraid of spirits. Something happening to my children and my wife, or spirits. Seeing a fucking ghost, seeing a dead ancestor or relative at the end of my bed is the biggest fear. Seeing Jesus, Mary, whoever, fucking devil, demon, doesn't matter. That's what I was scared of. Things that shouldn't have been there appearing since I was a kid. Found out because I seen shit as a kid. Point is, and that was unlocked. Talk through them. It's happened many times recently with my daughter saying shit to me. Fucking talking to myself in the kitchen while spirits or whatever, doing my thing. And thank God I'm not scared of spirits anymore. Then all of a sudden, I get a fucking yeah or daddy, you're funny. Something like that coming out of my daughter's mouth in the next room. And it literally was like me talking to fucking Saturn, like, almost using sarcasm with Saturn. And like, I was glad that's what she said and not something else. Oh yeah, you're going to regret that, you little fuck. Then I would be like, oh no, Saturn, don't do it. But point is, I knew that intuitively before I even knew that. Because as soon as people fell asleep, I was scared. Fuck, what if I see spirits? No, put on my friends. This way there's a semblance of that in the house, turn on lights, whatever. But anyways, way off the topic. But those things were a little watered down, and the point is, they get people involved. And I don't know what their main ulterior motive is or goal is in those spiritual paths, but the New Age is a new indoctrination system on the left-hand path that gets everybody to just get rid of the Christian and the Judeo and Islam fucking religions, and we make this new religion, then all of a sudden it's like World War II or fucking Russia whenever the Gulag was there, whenever the fucking all the camps were there, or in China under Mao's, where there's also concentration camps there. We had at least those three countries that I know of there in recent enough times in the 1900s that had concentration camps, and most people only know about one. That's terrible. And look what's happening in China now. China's still communist right now. What the fuck, Anyways, I can say shit about Russia too, but I'm not going to go there. But the point I'm trying to make is, I got so many fucking points I can't even stay on task. But, okay, Wicca and New Age are still pretty new. Now, they don't have all the programming that witchcraft has and that ceremonial magic. Ceremonial magic comes from Solomon. Now, which one of those are older, I don't know. Some say witchcraft, some say ceremonial magic. Doesn't matter. They've been around for so long, and people have been died, crucified, burnt at the stake, hung for doing these practices over time, because that's how fearful they are of people being programmed or having a programming that anything is possible, which means they can't control you. They can't indoctrinate you. They can't tell you the sky's falling. You say, it don't matter. I could fly up there and put it back up. You can't fuck with my reality. You can't control me by these means. And that's why these things have been banished. It's not even about the fact that, we have powers, this and that and the other thing. It's that when people start on this path and they get past the programming, it opens up their life. It opens up their eyes. It frees them. Things happen and they can do anything. And I don't mean anything in the sense of like literally, like I just said, flying, putting the sky up, but you no longer have the limitation of cancer. Not the sign. Cancer is the house or the home and in reference to your mother and parents and shit like that. But point is, the cancer, the disease, no longer has its effect on you because you can rule it out and you can program yourself to not get those things. And you can't completely not die in this world and, be immortal and shit like that. But man, you can go further than anybody else. And they fear that. And how do you find out who's magical? Well, you fucking give the world a test. You lock them all up. You make them all do ritual magic, even though they don't believe in it. And you give them affirmation that they're going to die from coronavirus for more than 21 days. It's like all the spiritual new age shit that we've been putting on YouTube and shit, teaching people how to do it, taught the fucking media how to do it. So they locked everybody else in their fucking home and giving them affirmations and letting them going out using symbolism to tell everybody's subconscious mind that they're going to fucking die. I'm telling you, look into it. Anyways, I think that's about it for today. I know I promised you guys a bomb episode, and it's coming, but I can't use my computer to put up these fucking episodes. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's just the fact that there's so much traffic, so much internet usage because everybody's at home watching shit, that my laptop being the oldest piece of electronics in my house, it just doesn't get the internet. Although it was working 10 minutes ago, and I had it for about 20 minutes and it just shut down when I tried putting all my shows on the speaker again. So I don't know if that's what's going on or what. So I know this isn't my granddaddy episode that I keep promising, but it's a little bit more information to help everybody out. I don't even know right now at this point if I should even put this shit out because I'm so sick and tired about coronavirus and trying to reassure people not to worry that I feel like just by talking about it, I'm giving it fucking energy. And this thought form egregore that is coronavirus is going to keep getting massiver and massiver. And even though the people listening to me probably don't believe in it, it's just still giving it energy. Doesn't matter if it's good energy or bad energy. Energy is energy. Whether you're talking about it to tell people not to worry about it, or you're talking about it telling people to fear about it, you're giving it energy. And the best way to not give it energy is to not pay attention to it at all. Maybe that's why Frater Xavier did nothing and just said, I'm taking a hiatus. Because he doesn't want to add to it. He probably knows it's a lose-lose. At first I was like, man, I think it'd be great if you made a statement. But now it's like, no, I kind of understand. Trying to get hits off of talking about something that's going to hurt people is just probably more uncool than anything. And I feel like that sometimes. I think that's why sometimes I can't put on my shows. Maybe it's my computer telling me not to put out this information. Maybe I put out enough, and those who will find it, and those who can't be changed just can't be changed. So I'll keep you posted if I'm going to put it out. If I get the computer to run, I will put out everything I already have probably. But I don't know. Maybe it's just tonight. It's the way I'm thinking. But anyways, this is just going to be a small episode for today. See how it goes. And I'll let you guys know if I'm going to put out all the doctor reports about all the opposite. Because once again, polarity is polarity, right? Like cause and effect, right? You're either going to be for or against something. Both sides are controlled. Both sides are played. I know this. I learned this. And I'm on the opposite side, absolutely, because I'm on the side for life. But in the same sense, these are both the sides. And it should be no neutral. Anybody with their mind should just be like, this isn't real. Just pretend like it's not even happening. And then it'll eventually go away. You almost have to ignore it to not give it attention. You know what I mean? There's always a third option. For or against is just both already anticipated. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed and hope you have a great day.
Suppose somebody knew their purpose before it was time. You weren't ready to hear it. If you were told too soon, well then the person would say, oh, that's the last thing I'd ever want to do. I'm not going to do that. And you'd put blocks in your way and you would sabotage it. So they know. So I had this man, one of the questions he wanted to know was what was his purpose? Why was he here? They said, we can't tell you, it's not time. But they said, oh, we wish we could because you don't know what we see. But they said, consider he is where you were 20 years ago. You don't give a baby a 3-course meal. You start a baby out on milk, cereal, crushed vegetables. You don't give them a steak.
Good correspondence.
So that's the same idea. You have to evolve at the stage your mind is. And so after that, I began to understand I could not have handled the steak that I'm getting now 30 years ago, I would have blown my mind. I would have just said, nope, it's too complicated. I don't want anything to do with it. So over the years, they have been giving me more and more complicated information. And as soon as I understand it, digest it, then they come up with another one. And it's been that way now, especially as I go through the Convoluted Universe series. And those of you who have read the last one, I just finally got it out in February. I thought the book was finished when I got to the part about the final solution. But my daughter was saying, no, we don't want to end it on a negative note. So I went to Montreal a month later. They came through blasting at me. This is the way it should end. This is a new theory, a totally new theory. And here I thought I'd had all the theories they could come up with. And they began telling me something that I'd never heard of before. And I said, I don't understand it. They said, all right, then we stop right here till you digest it and understand it. But just be aware there is more. So I end the book with that. There is more. So there will be more books because there's still more information that I can't understand. They think it's time now that people begin to broaden their minds, begin to think, begin to come up with ideas we've never even thought of before. They said, understand. They think it's time now that people begin to broaden their minds, begin to think, begin to come up with ideas we've never even thought of before. They said, we will never have all of the information. It's impossible. They told me one time, all of your questions will never be answered because some information is as poison versus medicine. It's not our brains, it's our minds. Our minds don't have the concepts to understand the totality of it all. So even when they're telling me things, they'll say, well, this is the best we can explain it in your language, with your words and your vocabulary, but it's just a very tiny part of what the whole picture and the concept is. But we're beginning to get more and more, and I think we're beginning to open up our minds more and more to what's really it's all about. That's what we're moving into, this whole new earth, and that's what I'm going to be speaking about. Things are changing. This is a very exciting time to be living. But I can see how I have evolved over the 30 years, and I don't know you. I think you're doing the same thing. The church definitely doesn't have the answers anymore, and science doesn't have the answers. We're proceeding beyond that. I had a man who read Convoluted 3, and he emailed me, and he said he heard me speak at the Laughlin UFO conference in February, and he said, oh, he didn't believe any of it. It was a bunch of bunk. But he went and got the book, and then he was a physicist, a scientist. So he emailed me, and he said, this opens up a whole new way to look at science. It could change science totally. And he said, I'm going to go out there and tell my other scientists what I have found. But first I have to know, did you make this up? Is this fiction? Before I go out on the limb. And I get 400 emails a day, but I figured I had to answer that one. So I said, no, I could not make this stuff up. There's no way. This is beyond me. I'm the reporter, the investigator, the accumulator of lost knowledge. I just put it out there. But no, there's no way I could make it up. What they feel ready to give me, I just write about it and try my best to understand it so I can lecture about it. That's as far as I can go. But they say it is changing the way the scientists are even beginning to look at our reality. So there's a lot more going on than I realize. In me, like I said, I'm just a reporter. A lot of it hasn't really even sunk in. Because I can't remember all the stuff I write. The last book was 700 pages. The two before that was 600. I pulled out enough material that I have enough for a fourth volume. And even though they told me that was the end of that one, about 2 months after I got the book out, it began coming through again through the people I work with. And I've got 25 tapes at home I have to transcribe. So there's going and coming through again for the people I work with. And I've got 25 tapes at home I have to transcribe. So there's going to be more in the convoluted series. I've already pulled out all the information about UFOs. I've been taking that out of the last 3 books because even that is going in a different direction, a different way of understanding, a totally new perspective. So I'm going to put that in a separate book. I'm working on 3 more books right now anyway. But I was talking to my friend Lou Farish, who has been helping me through all the UFO cases all the last 20 years. And I told him, it's going a different way. And he says, why don't you call it convoluted UFOs? And I thought he was joking, but people said it's not a bad title because it's going to a different direction to look at it from a different way. So anyway, I've still got lots of material. I'm going to still be writing a lot more books, and more is coming from everywhere I go. So, okay, I'm trying to think where to begin. I spoke at a conference a couple of months ago in Kansas. They gave me an hour. They said, we want you to tell all about everything you've written about and everything in the Convoluted Universe series in 1 hour, but save 15 minutes of it for questions. And I thought, oh my gosh, you don't have no idea the amount of material. So when I got up there, I felt like I was running a race. I'm a little more relaxed right now, but I felt like I had to cram an awful lot of material into that 45 minutes and still have enough for questions. So I'm slowing it down a little bit here so I can cover the same information. Okay. One strange thing that has been happening to me in the last several years is an evolution in my work. All of these 30 years with the past life regressions, the past life therapy, I've been focusing on the past lives because that's where the answers are. The person has problems in this lifetime, physical, family, whatever it is, it normally goes back to the past life. So in my technique, I take them back to the most appropriate past life to explain what's going on in the present lifetime. Once they find it, the problem goes away. So it's the way it's been. I've been doing this the whole time. Now suddenly, strange things are happening. And they come through and take over the session. They'll say, past lives are no longer important. You must focus on now and moving forward. There's a whole lot of strange things that are happening. What I'm finding now, maybe 9 out of the 10 cases I might see in a couple of weeks will not go to past lives. They'll go somewhere else, and I'm going to explain what that's all about. The ones I'm finding that are still going to past lives still have karma to work out. They've still got problems with people in their family or something they haven't worked out yet. The other ones they said have already been there, done that. It's not any sense to focus on that anymore. Like you did in Maryland's. See, you weren't focusing on a past life. You're clearing up stuff now. This is what they were saying. You got to work on the karma now and get it out of your life, get rid of it. And we're not focusing on what we've already done. They said it might be interesting, curious, but it has no effect on where we're going. That it's like kindergarten stuff. We have to focus on this life, getting it straightened out, because we're moving into something that is very tremendous. So I've noticed, and I wrote a lot about it in the 3rd book, the people are going to several other places. Many of them, instead of going to past lives, are returning to God. Are they called the source? They're going back to where they all started from. They're going back to the beginning instead of going into other lives. And it's happening more and more. Other ones are going to lives when they were on other planets, on spaceships, or other dimensions, or when they were energy beings. And many of them have never been on Earth before. This is their first time. And a fascinating thing about this is all of them, even whenever they go back to the God source, when I say, well, why did you come? I know you're talking to somebody who's here. Why did you decide to come to Earth? Every one of them, even the ETs, whatever it is, will all say, we heard the call and we volunteered to come. Because this is what I've been told. The ETs, they have been around forever. They've been taking care of us forever. So I've never found any negativity in this. Because they are the ones who seeded the planet Earth. They're the ones who created us. Just as Don Shorn was talking about, they've been taking care of us since the beginning of time. They have been here teaching us things through thousands and thousands of years. They are here to protect us. So they've been watching us all that time. So what happened was, whenever we had the atomic created us, just as Don Shorn was talking about, they've been taking care of us since the beginning of time. They have been here teaching us things through thousands and thousands of years. They are here to protect us. So they've been watching us all that time. So what happened was, whenever we had the atomic bomb explosions at the end of the 1940s and the beginning of the 50s, you remember there was a big influx of UFO activity at that time. They said it's because when we shot off the atomic bombs, it got their attention. Most of the time they're not here all the time. They come and go. But when this happened, the atomic bomb was shot off. They said, oh my gosh, what are those kids up to now? And so they are come to watch and find out, what are we playing with? And they were not happy because they said, these kids are fooling around with something they don't know how to handle, something that's totally beyond their ability to control. Because they know where we are. We can't even take care of ourselves. That they know we've been on this wheel of karma for generations and generations and generations, repeating the same karma over and over again. Instead of getting off of it and learning your lessons and going higher, we keep coming back to the same mess, the same people, again and again, because we haven't got it figured out. And the whole world is that way. And here we just finished a war. We're in the middle of violence. We hadn't learned anything yet. Now we go shooting off atomic bombs. They said if they can't even take care of themselves, how are they going to handle something like this? So they were really worried about it. So that's when they began monitoring us to see what we're going to be doing with this. And they don't like it. They're very unhappy with what we're doing. And they said, we have to change. We can't allow this to go on because we could get to the point where we could destroy the world with what we were doing. And they said they can't allow that to happen. Now, the divine directive is just like on Star Trek, that they cannot interfere. You cannot interfere with a developing civilization. It's a planet of free will. They must make their messes. They must make their mistakes. And they just stand back and shake their heads. But they can't interfere because we have been given permission to do whatever we want. But if it gets to the point that we're going to blow up the world, they said it would send reverberations out through space. We would disrupt other civilizations that we're not even aware of. Not only in our galaxy, in our solar system, our universe, but also in other dimensions. Because the vibrations would be tremendous. You know what happened with the asteroid belt? Exploded. I've written about that with the destruction of the air on Mars. And they said Earth was hit many, many times with that. It would have been worse, but Earth was on the other side of the sun whenever the explosion occurred. Otherwise, we would have had more damage to Earth. But they can't have this happening. It affects too many other planets and other civilizations that we don't even know about in the other dimensions. They said it's like undeclared war on innocent people. So if that were to happen, then they would have to step in and stop us. They don't want to wait to that point, though, to get to that part. So they said, okay, what are we going to do? We can't just come down and say, hey, guys, this is stupid. You've got to stop it. That's against the divine directive. You can't just come in and make anybody do what they should do. They have sense enough to do, but what they won't do. So they said they had meetings with the councils. What do we do now? This is
spirits, and I've seen it.
and we answered on Earth before. And I'm getting more and more and more of these. This is their first time. They don't know this consciously, but it is. And this means souls that have never been, this is their first time. They don't know this consciously, but it is the first time they've been here. And you can imagine someone coming from the source of total love, but only coming because they want to help Earth. But look at the mess they're coming into. And it takes a lot of courage to come down here and want to be involved in this. And I've taken them through the birth experience, and they were saying, my gosh, I didn't know what I was getting into. Because they feel the heaviness, the denseness of Earth, and the body. Then they feel all of these emotions that are so complicated because they've not been exposed to them. They said when they volunteered, they had the big meetings, and they told them this is what's going to be like. But they didn't really, have never been on Earth before. And I'm getting more and more and more of these. Known the violence. The rest of us can help by getting rid of our karma. But we have more work to do. They're coming in to help this. I guess I should tell you, have never accumulated the karma to help Earth get out of this mess. Although that's what they're trying to, all of us. So there's going to be a lot of confusion. But I found the 3 waves of people. The first ones are now in their 50s. If you read my book, Keepers of the Garden, that was my first exposure to one of these people. And it was the first time I'd ever had anyone go back to a lifetime where they were an alien. They were an ET. He said he had never lived on Earth before. And he told me what it was like on the other planets he lived on. And I'd never done it. And I'm sitting here thinking, what do I ask an alien? I didn't know where to go in that book because it was my first time to do it. And it was so difficult for him that he tried to commit suicide because it was like, I don't want to be here. I don't like the violence. Why are people so mean to each other? He couldn't understand it. And, why are they always hurting each other? And it just didn't make sense. It was the first time I'd ever had anyone go back to a lifetime where they were an alien. They were an ET. He said he had never lived on Earth before. And he told me what it was like on the other planets he lived on. And I'd never done it. And I'm sitting here thinking, what do I ask an alien? I didn't know where to go in that book because it was my first time to do it. And it was so difficult for him that he tried to commit suicide because it was like, I don't want to be here. I don't like the violence. Why are people so mean to each other? He couldn't understand it. And, why are they always hurting each other? And it just didn't make sense. He said, this is not home. I want to go home. He didn't know where home was, but he knew it wasn't here. He had a wonderful family that loved him. He had a good job. But he just didn't like the negativity here. And in that book, that's how I found out he was one who took it back where he said he volunteered to come. And he's what I call the first wave. The first wave of people that volunteers have had the most difficulty. Now I'm finding them all over the world, and I put them into these different categories. But they are around the age of 50 now. There may be some that are a little bit older, but this man, when I was first working with him, was only in his 30s. When that book began to be translated all over the world, it's now come out in Chinese, I was getting letters from everybody. They say, I thought I was the only one in the world that felt this way, that I didn't belong here, that this wasn't home. They said, you don't know what it means to find there's other people out there who feel the same way. So now I'm finding them everywhere, and it's beginning to make sense to them. And in the new book, I have a whole chapter on the first-timers. They're beginning to come out. But the first ones had the hardest time because it was new to them. It was difficult. Then I found the second wave, which are now, I think, in their 20s and 30s. They came after the first wave. They didn't have it as hard. They were called, when I do the sessions, they called them antennas, channels for energy. They call them generators. They're not here to do anything except be. And the energy flows through them that will be used to help the world. So it's a different type of person, the second one is. They aren't having this difficulty. They've adjusted beautifully. Many of them don't want children. And when I do the sessions, they say, we don't want children because children create karma. That would mean we'd have to keep coming back. We want to get in here, do our job, and get out. They don't want to be stuck here. They just want to do what they have to do and get out again. So they're just here. Most of these people live just very ordinary lives. They don't make any waves, but they're the ones who are holding the energy to install into somebody has a path. And once the path was set, then the second ones come in. It was much easier to just fit right in and follow that. But they all are volunteers. The third wave you're all familiar with are the new children. Now, they're called indigo children. I don't go along with that term, and the other investigators I work with don't like that term either. Mary Wadwell in Australia that I work with, she calls them the new kids on the block. Now, many of them are in their teens. I've spoken at conferences where they will have panels of these young kids. They're like 13. And they explain the difficulties they're having with schools and the problems. Some of the kids on those panels were from Indian tribes. They're from all over, all walks of life. They're coming in with everything in place. They are the hope of the world. They are the ones who will make the biggest changes. They're coming in with everything they need, and it's beautiful, it's fantastic. But of course, people not understanding them, they're the ones that are causing the trouble. The teachers that don't understand them. But they are the ones that have great knowledge. They have everything in place. Their DNA has already been changed to function in this new reality. We're the ones that have to catch up. But they're already here. And when I've talked to these children, they'll say the problem with the school is